850 here, Big 550 KTRS. Our longtime friend on the show, Charles D'Angelo, who has a great inspirational story that everyone should know about, is back with us. Good morning, Charles D'Angelo.
Good morning, Kelly and McGraw.
Hello.
So we saw you, when last we saw you, you were getting on a plane at Lambert to go out to California?
I was.
And I was
see my fiance.
see the family. And then I go on the plane and I open up People Magazine and I see one of your clients there on People Magazine. Tell us about it.
Tim Buchanan of Union, Missouri, a machinist, lost 210 pounds last year in just 12 months' time. Not by some radical shift only in how he was eating. Of course, that was part of it, and of course, exercise was part about it. But the biggest part was really shifting his identity to looking at himself no longer as an obese person, but as an athletic person who was carrying around about 200 pounds of fat.
Right.
And like so many of us, myself, the former me included, when I weighed 360 pounds, he was filling a void in himself, and that void was being filled with food. And once we removed that, he started to grow into that space, becoming the man that he always wanted to be.
Had he always been overweight, or was it just something that happened in his adult life?
Well, I can talk about this. Usually I won't speak about clients' issues publicly unless they've given me permission, but Tim has come out and shared much of this. He struggled with alcoholism for some time, and then coupled that, of course, with food. And so once he reined in his habits with drinking, he then sought out my coaching, and we began to work at what really was the driving force behind this destructive behavior. You've got to take a step back, and before we went on the air, we were talking about really what direction is your life headed in? Are you moving towards something you really want? And even have you even considered where you're moving toward? So many of us get so caught up in distraction and by the talking heads that we forget we have to take charge of our life. Otherwise, someone else will. And you got to ask yourself, if someone else is running your life, how's it going to turn out?
Right.
So I'd say the first step that I achieved with Tim, and that I would recommend anyone listening, you at home, to do, is ask yourself 3, 6, 9, 12 months from now, where do you really want to be? And are the things you're doing moving you closer to those things or further away?
Or your health will run your life,
absolutely.
too.
So when he first came knocking on your door, he weighed 420 pounds.
That's correct.
And he lost half of himself.
210 pounds. And the big thing, and I hammer this all the time, if you want to create lasting change, there has to be a change in your philosophy and your attitude. Number one, towards yourself. If you're not respecting yourself by making daily deposits with how you treat your body, think of it this way. We have 3 quadrants. We have physical, we have mental, and relational. If your physical health is failing you, how clearly do you think you're thinking? And if you're not thinking very clearly, how well do you think you're relating to other people? So many of us want more in our life. I have people that come to me and they say, my marriage isn't working. I haven't slept in the same room with my spouse for 2 or 3 years. And I'm very, very direct. And I say, well, here's the question I need you to consider. Are you being the person that your spouse deserves to have in his or her life? If you're not respecting yourself, if you're not giving yourself love, why would you expect someone else to respect and give you that very thing? So it all starts with you. Once you start to ask yourself, who do I have to be to have the things I want, everything starts to change.
We should say that this People magazine, it was in an episode or a issue of, what was it, people who lost half themselves? Or
it was called Half Their Size. And
Half Their
Oprah was
Size.
on the cover.
Oprah was on the cover. And it was interesting because a lot of the people that they featured were women. And
almost all. There were only
this
a
guy
couple
was one
males.
of the few men. You have, we've joked about this. You should add up how much weight you've lost St. Louis over the years.
Yes, I take it one person at a time. I always say helping St. Louis one way at a time, pun intended, right? So I look at it that way, and coming out in April is my new book called Inner Guru, and it's called Mastering Your Health, Wealth, and Relationships from the Inside Out. And it's all starting with your psychology, your philosophy, because so many people that come to me, many are dietitians, many are nutritionists. Of course, they know what they need to be doing, but they have trouble getting themselves to do what they know. So what I help people really do is, of course, fix the problem, helping a person lose 100 pounds, 200 pounds, sometimes just 15, 20 pounds. But when you dig a little deeper and you ask, what do I really want? So once I lose the weight, then what? Once I'm down to my ideal, what then am I going to want to focus my life on? Because sometimes I found in now almost 2 decades of practice, people use weight as a distraction from other issues. For example, if they keep themselves in a state of unhealthiness where they always keep that perpetuated, it keeps people out. So they never have to really deal with developing intimacy with themselves and with other people. So often it's a distraction from the real issue. So once we get that out of the way, then we can look at how clearly are we thinking and how well are we relating and make our life really, really fulfilling.
Okay, so somebody started the new year December 31st, they said, that's it. 2017 is going to be the year I'm going to get in shape. I'm going to start losing weight. And now it's the end of the month, and they've sort of creeped back into
Yes.
old
It
habits.
happens a lot.
What would you tell? Give us a couple of helpful hints. Where do
Number
we go
one,
from here?
ask yourself, why do I want to lose the weight? Because when you lose focus on the why, the way becomes very, very difficult. When you remember why you started, you'll never stop. But all too often, we get comfortable. And once we get comfortable in anything, whether it be in our health habits or whether it be in relationships, we start to slack off a little bit. When you get refocused to why was I so motivated to doing this in the first place, it becomes that much easier to stay consistent with the good habits. So first, ask yourself why. Number two, make sure that you have a sound strategy. Look around you for people that have the things that you want in your life. Maybe you're listening and you struggle with addiction in other ways.
Right.
Maybe it's not food, maybe it's drugs. Look for someone in your life who's achieved the outcome you want and start to model them. Sometimes it's not for lack of resources that we don't achieve our goals. It's for lack of resourcefulness. And with the internet, with people, there's so many ways and so many examples to achieve the things you want.
What I find fascinating about this whole thing is the peer pressure out there to eat.
Well, what's remarkable is when you shift how you see yourself, often, I tell people this, you've got to prepare. When you raise your standard, a lot of the people you spend time with, you'll find you might not spend so much time with them
Yeah.
anymore.
Well,
because if you don't share the same values, you're not going to relate in the same way.
So you go to lunch with somebody and you say, I'll have a grilled chicken.
Yes.
I'm on my team, Charles. I'm going to have a grilled chicken and oil and vinegar. And they'll be like, no, here, try this. Try this hamburger. No, try. You're like, no, I don't want. What do you care what I'm eating?
Here's what they care about. They want to be able to connect and relate with you. And often, look at the person that's offering you that. Sometimes it's easier to try to get you to be more like them, to confront the reality that they should start to
it's
change.
almost like an alcoholic that says, I don't want to drink alone. Here, have a drink, right?
Similar, yes.
An eater wants someone to eat with. Be bad with me. Have an ice cream with me.
Well, it can alleviate the responsibility we feel that we really should improve the quality of our life. So if we spend time with people that aren't very different than us, if you're playing a sport and it's with people that are worse than you can feel good for a while.
Right.
But pretty soon you get bored. So the third thing I would say, besides identify why you're started, make sure you have a sound strategy and a good model, is make certain that you raise your standards. Start to expect more from yourself than anyone else, and your life will become magnificent.
Charles, we'll have you on from time to time and plug your new book as it gets closer to publication date. But how do people get a hold of you?
My phone number is 314-495-3228, and you can visit my website, and there's on there's a free gift to anyone who calls. You can come in for a consultation. There's no charge for that. We'll talk about what's going on and determine if it's a good fit. And the website's charlesdangelo.com.
CharlesDangelo.com. CharlesDangelo.com. The phone number one more time?
314-495-3228, charlesdangelo.com.
Good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you. I'll see you guys next month.
You got it. 8:58, Big 550.